Hello, friends. It's your girl, Anna Loves, and welcome back to Creepy Corner Story Time. So it is almost 11:30 p.m. here in Texas. It's a Tuesday night. I should be asleep, but since I'm not, I decided to go ahead and record a video for you guys. So I did a live the other day and I told a story on the live. But on lives, because it was my first one, I don't know who all was able to listen and who wasn't. So here goes the story. This is a story that took place at my grandmother's house in Wichita Falls, Texas. My friends in Wichita Falls, you know where Clark Street is. It's right by the old hospital. My grandparents' house that they lived in is no longer there. But this is definitely some weird stuff happened to that house. I definitely have more stories that I can go into, but this one is the one that freaked me out the most. So, my aunt and uncle were visiting. Well, it's my obviously my grandparents, my aunt and uncle, it's their parents. So, all right. So they went to visit their parents for the weekend, and the way that the house is set up is it's set up kind of like a rectangle. So the living room and the bedroom are in the front. The kitchen is in the middle. And right next to the kitchen are two bedrooms. And at the very back of the house, there's a bathroom, the only bathroom in the house. Now, to say the least, even as a child, I hated going to the bathroom at my grandparents' house. The only time that I would really go was if I really had to, and it was daytime. If it was night, I would just hold it. And I'm going to explain to you why. So, my aunt and uncle are visiting with my grandparents. They're sitting in the living room late in the evening, and they're talking and they're visiting, just normal conversation, nothing scary. And my aunt says that she starts hearing a cat, like making growling noises, and it was extremely loud. She didn't say anything. They just kept visiting and they kept talking. And after a while, they all decided to go to bed. So my aunt and uncle were staying in the middle of the house next to the kitchen. And they were kind of, getting ready for bed. And they said they laid down and all the house was quiet. And my aunt said she started hearing chanting, kind of like what you would hear in the movies, is how she explained to me. She's like, you ever watch these scary movies where these people are doing like their masses or whatever and they're chanting? And I'm like, yeah, I know, I've seen those movies. And she's like, yeah, it sounded just like that. And she said, I tried to think, maybe it's my imagination. So I tried to sleep through it. And she said, and when I was laying there trying to go to sleep, I heard my mother get up, which was my grandmother. She had a habit of getting up in the middle of the night. She would go to the kitchen, which is right next to where they were, and she would pour her a little glass of water and she would drink it. And then she'd go to the bathroom at the back of the house. So my aunt heard her. She didn't really want to bother her or alarm her with what was going on. Obviously, she didn't hear it because she didn't come talk to them about it or anything. So she decided just to wait. And then she said she heard her mom go to the bathroom and go back to her room. So the longer she tried to put it out of her mind that she was hearing this chanting, the louder it was getting. So at this point, she decides she's going to wake up my uncle because she doesn't want to be alone listening to all this crap. So she shakes him and she's like, hello. She was like, could you hear that? And he says, yes, I've been hearing it. And she said, well, why didn't you say something? I'm over here terrified by myself. And he's like, well, I thought maybe you would go away. And she said, okay. So she said, all right, well, this is really strange. She said, okay, next, if I hear my mother get up again, then I'm going to go ask her if she hears it too. And he said, okay. So they laid back down. And of course, like clockwork, my grandmother got back up and she went into the kitchen and she stopped and she got her drink of water and she went to the bathroom. And so my aunt was like, well, maybe I shouldn't bother her. It seems like she's just doing her regular routine and I don't want to upset her or anything. And so she let it go. My grandmother went back to her room, and then the third time, the chanting started up even louder and louder, and it sounded like it was even closer. So at this point, she's like, all right, if my mother gets up again, I'm definitely going to stop her, and we got to put a stop to this. So she waited. She heard my grandmother get up again and go to the refrigerator and get her drink and go to the bathroom. She said, okay, well, I'm going to wait for her to come out of the bathroom this time. I'm going to wait. And as soon as she comes out, I'm going to catch her in the kitchen. So she waited and she waited and she waited. And she never heard the door open. So she decided, I'm gonna go check and see if she's okay. So she went, opened the door, and everything was dark. There was no lights on anywhere. Nobody was in the bathroom. It was empty. This freaked her out. She went back to her room. She shut the door. She locked it, and she didn't sleep at all that night. So the next day, when she started hearing her parents like start getting around and getting ready for breakfast and stuff, they'd get up early and make their coffee. Um, she went in there and she asked her mom. She said, Did you hear what was happening last night?" And she goes, "No, no. What do you mean? What do you mean? What did I hear?" She said, "Well, I heard the chanting." And this is where their father chimed in. He said, "I heard it." And she said, "Okay." And she said something else, a kind of weird happened that I think ties into it. She said, "Remember when we were talking last night? And did you hear a cat like hissing, growling, like they were fighting?" And her mom said, "No, I didn't hear anything." And her husband even told her, "No, I didn't hear anything." And her father said, "I heard it too." And so they feel like that was the beginning of whatever weirdness was happening. Well, then she told her, she said, "Look, I heard you go and get your drink out of the refrigerator and go to the bathroom. And the first couple of times, I just kind of let it go because I didn't want to disturb you. But the third time that you went, I was going to catch you coming back, but I missed you somehow." And she said, "I didn't go to the bathroom 3 times. I only went twice." And she said, "No, I heard you 3 times. I got out of the bed 3 times because I was going to go talk to you." She said, "No, I went 2 times." She said, "The second time that I went, I was in the bathroom. And when I was sitting, there was a window that was strategically placed behind the toilet seat, creepiest location ever." She said that she was sitting and that she could hear someone like throwing pebbles at the back window, throwing pebbles and psst, psst. And she said, nope. She washed her hands. She went back to her room and she didn't go back for the rest of that night. So it's just one of the really strange things that happened in that house. I definitely have some other stories that are even more terrifying than that one, but that was one that kind of sticks in the mind because I don't know what was going around at that time, but there was definitely a weird aura in that neighborhood. What's weird now is that a lot of the houses have been torn down because they're making space for the hospital of all places. Can't find a creepier thing to go into a creepy location, I guess. Um, I thought that story was pretty weird and terrifying, and I just wanted to share. I mean, why not? Who else is not sleeping tonight? Let me just contribute to that. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a great night. Bye. Uh-oh.